brief overview on textiles. Textiles is the foundation of fashion industry because it is about the fabrics that you use. There is a class on just textiles that is a foundation core class for any of the fashion degrees or certificates offered here at Saddleback. So you can imagine it's a very large topic. I'm going to condense it down to some very simple basic concepts. One of the first concepts is, what are the fabrics made of? What you have are natural fibers like linen, cotton, wool that come from nature, and then you have synthetic fibers that are man-made, like your polyester, your acetate, and they use these fibers to create fabric yarns, and then they use the fabric yarns to create the fabrics. So you have your natural fibers, you have your man-made fibers. Usually when you are buying fabric, on the end of the bolt it will say the fiber content of the fabric. Sometimes it's important to people to use an all-natural fiber, and sometimes it's important they want the synthetic so that the fabric won't wrinkle as easily. If it does not say on the end of the bolt what the fiber content is, there are two tests that you can do to get a better guess of what the fiber content is. The simplest test is simply to take the fabric and crinkle it up in your fist as tightly as you can, and when you release it, if it stays wrinkled, it means it probably has a lot of natural fiber in it. Synthetic fibers like polyester stuff, they have more of a memory, so they will go back to its original shape much easier. It's also a good way to tell, if it's a blend, because a lot of times they blend fibers. It'll be part synthetic, part natural fibers that are woven to make up the fabric yarns. If it's very important to you, let's say you're making some outdoor cushions and you want to make sure they're not they're going to be fireproof or they will withstand the elements, the easiest way is to use a match and you actually burn a little edge of the fabric, and if the edge stays soft and feathery, that means that it has natural fibers creating the fabric. If you feel like a hard little bead or little plastic edge, then it is obviously a synthetic fabric because the fibers have actually melted. And the burn test is the most accurate way to really determine if your fabric is natural or synthetic fibers. So once you have your fibers, you have to weave them into the fabric. So you've got woven fabrics, and woven fabrics, they take the fabric yarns and they weave them at a 90-degree angle. So you have your yarns that go this way and you have your yarns that go that way, and they go in and out and over each other. That's how they create different types of fabric, floating the yarns, get a satin or a nice woven fabric. The other way they use the fabric yarns are to create knits. And in knit fabric, you're actually interlocking the fabric yarns. So there's my fabric yarns, and the next row interlocks with the previous row. That is knit fabric. It's usually pretty obvious if a fabric is woven or knit. The easiest way to tell is on a woven fabric, because the yarns are at the 90-degree angle, the edges fray and the fabric yarns come off in long, long threads. So that's an easy way to tell if it's a woven fabric. On knit fabrics, the edges do not fray because the yarns are interlocked, so you're not cutting into it and getting these long, straight fabric yarns. The other way to tell if it is a woven fabric is that it doesn't stretch. Okay, the yarns are at right angles and there's no stretch on either the width or on the length of the fabric. And knits, because of the way they are constructed, the interlocking, they have a lot of stretch to them. And that's probably the easiest way to tell if you have a knit or if you have a woven fabric. Knit fabrics have a lot of unique characteristics. They require a special needle on the machine. They require a special foot often. And there's just sewing techniques that make them unique to work on. So we will be working primarily with woven fabrics.